And so before we go back to do surds, it occurred to me I probably ought to do factors. How do you divide a number into its factors? Well, the small numbers, you probably know them. You know that 15, for instance, could be made up as 15 times 1 and 3 times 5. And that's all factors are the different sorts of numbers that will times together to give you one number. And if it's like 3, and 3 can only be made up as 3 times 1, that is a prime number. And all non-primes have factors, have combinations of numbers that will times together to give them. Within these numbers, prime factors are important because once you get down to the prime factor, you can't go any further. So, for instance, if I was asked to divide 18 into its primes, now, I tend to use a tree. I've done this lots of times in my life. You might be taught a ladder, but I would always use a tree. So you go 18, give me two numbers that will multiply together to give you 18. Well, I'll go for 6 and 3. 3 is prime, so we'll stop. But can I think of two numbers that will multiply together to give you 6? Of course you can. 3 and 2. And now they're all prime. So that means 18 equals 2, and we would write that as squared there, times 3. Or, if you like, 2 times 2 times 3. Something immediately follows from that, which we were doing last time with a surd. If you've got the square root of 18, well, the square root of 2 times 2 is 2, or the square root of 2 squared is 2. Okay? So you know the square root of the 2 bit of that would just be 2 times root 3. So any repeated factor, a double, if you square root it, becomes a single. I get very excited about that fact. Factors are important because you can generate any number in terms of its factors, and you get affinities between numbers. You get to see how many times tables they share. But before I need to be sponged down, because I find that all quite interesting actually, let me just show you something. There's a fair chance on your calculator, if you've got this sort of calculator, it will notice it's got a strange button called fact. Do you know what that button does? If you put a number in, let's put in 144. That's not a random number, it's 12 squared. And I go equals, and I press, I'm timing out, that button, look what it will do.